Let us pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, for blessing us to come out tonight to conduct the business of the county. We thank you for this privilege to serve, and Lord, we ask your blessings upon the deliberations and discussions, that all things will be done in a manner that's acceptable in thy sight and a blessing to our citizens. We thank you, Lord, and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will now call our July 1st Board of Commissioners meeting to order. The first item on the agenda is the approval of our minutes. You have them before you. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, on page 1265, in the very first sentence, it says, motion carried without opposition. I would like without opposition stricken from that sentence.
Do we want to add majority, by majority of that?
That would be fine.
Okay. Are there any other corrections?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the minutes be approved as presented with the amendment, to include the amendment by Commissioner Jernigan.
Second motion.
All right, so motion second that the minutes be approved as corrected. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay, are there any adjustments we need to make to the agenda? If not, we'll call for the motion to accept the agenda as presented.
So move.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Okay. All right, our next item will be our delegations, our citizens' comments. Ms. Reba Green Holly.
Good evening.
Good.
I have two items I'm bringing before you. The first one is our annual invitation to our Commissioners Luncheon, which will be August 7th, starting at 12, as soon as you finish your Commissioner meeting. And whether the food is warm or not will depend on how long you all take in your meat.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
No, give it here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Also, you'll hear later on in Mr. Mendenhall's report to you all, I am the chairman of the Employee Welfare Committee, and our first charge was to plan a celebration type end of the year, beginning of the new year reflection. So we are having an employee cookout on July 9th from 12 to 2, simple menu, hamburger, hot dogs. And We're asking all employees to RSVP to get a count. It'll be right out behind the sheriff's office in the grassy area. And we would like for the commissioners to serve, those who are able to. So can I get a commitment from you all on who can come and serve that day?
What was the times again, Mrs.
12 to 2.
All right.
I think I'll be able to.
Is that it's Monday, Tuesday?
Thank you, ma'am.
Reba, if my arthritis is not acting up,
Likewise.
I'll
What time
put
on
it on my
Tuesday night?
calendar.
I might can give you an hour, maybe.
I'll try to be there.
If anybody else is able to do so, please let us know. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Reba. Okay, our next delegation will be Ms. Esther Laster from Gates Partners for Health.
To our county manager, our board chairman, commissioners, and citizens that are attending this afternoon, good afternoon to each of you. First, I would like to say thank you to the Board of Commissioners for your continued support of the Gates Partners for Health. We really appreciate what you do for us and your financial support. I'm pleased to share with you some good news this afternoon that is of no cost to Gates County. So I have your ear. In May of last year, 2012, the Gates Partners for Health applied for a grant with Oversea Healthcare Foundation. We were fortunate enough to receive the grant. The grant was in the amount of $25,000 to plan a comprehensive diabetes plan for Gates County. We immediately started acting on this in July 1, 2012. And today we would like to share with you an oversight of the plan itself. If you skip back one. These are the items that we will cover: a brief history, identifying the need, problem access, the plan itself, key points, sustainability and reimbursement, budget, marketing, quality improvement and evaluation, the next phase of the plan, and the conclusion. To give you a brief history, Albemarle Regional Health Service, as you know, serves as our physical agent. Well, Gates Partners for Health, after receiving the plan, the first thing we had to do is to develop a comprehensive group, which composed of the Diabetes Task Force. And the members or the agencies serving on that task force were the Albemarle Regional Diabetes Center, Albemarle Hospital, New Middle Swamp Missionary Baptist Church, Upper Room Assembly Church, Gates County Health Department, the Gates Interregional Transportation System, the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, Gates County Center, Gateway Community Health Center, Gates County Public Schools, Gates County Community Center, Roanoke-Chowan Community Health Center, and the Vidant Roanoke-Chowan Hospital. Now, out of those agencies and organizations, we had top personnel. We had a diabetes program coordinator, diabetes education coordinators, education coordinator at the church, an office manager at the church, nursing supervisor, directors, registered nurse, office manager, school nurse, fitness specialist. So we had the top persons that we needed to pull together to develop a comprehensive diabetes plan for Gates County. The task force met monthly to coordinate efforts because we had a lot of resources that one may not have known that actually existed and was available to Gates County. So we pulled all those resources together. There was also stakeholder, resident interviews, community surveys, focus groups that were conducted by our hired consultant. We reviewed the local health data and evidence-based literature. So after doing all of this, we were able to pull together a plan that was specific for Gates County. Now, as we look at Gates County, we realize that we do have a problem with access. And they're listed here. Gates County is a primary health care professional shortage area. We all know that. We have to leave Gates County in order to see specialists, or many of our primary doctors are located outside of the area. We have no hospital or medical specialists. We are a Tier 1 designated county, and we know we have only one medical facility in Gates County. And of course, with that facility, we have the lack of after hours and late night care that is available. After looking at our problem and our access, we then took a look and we composed a comprehensive diabetes plan. And this plan has three components: the access part of it, the education and support section, and the third is the results, lifestyle change and improved health outcomes. Now, all of this is on the handout that you received where you can take your own personal notes. I would like to say that down on the table, we do have a complete book of all the details that will be left with the county manager to be stored for your references later. It's a 75-page document. At this time, I would like to introduce to some of you who may not know the CEO of the Gateway Community Health Center, Ms. Carolyn Allison. And Carolyn is going to explain to you the plan and its details. Carolyn?
Just want to make sure I have the microphone, okay? Cool. Thank you for having us here. I'm going to transition from my paper to the computer as I talk to you. Also, please stop me at any point in time. Tend to kind of go on at length about the items that I'm passionate about, and that's the health center. Just one minor correction. I was the interim executive director for Gateway Community Health Centers, and the board of directors recently hired a regular executive director. Her name is Rose Turner, so keep that in mind. I am an independent consultant, and I've worked for at least 13 years with community health centers, which are Section 330 grant-funded programs across the country. And so I have been traveling out here from Charlotte, North Carolina, every week in order to support this program and the staff here. So I appreciate the opportunity. But enough about myself, and I'll redirect you to the plan. We are very grateful to the OBC Foundation out of Virginia for funding us for this program. The plan actually was to establish the Gates County Diabetes Clinic, which is huge, as simply said, to really develop a patient-centered program. Also, we wanted to really focus on the disease state itself. So scheduling becomes very important as it relates to focusing on that disease state. And that segues into our group visits. We really wanted to have all those individuals who are diabetics or pre-diabetics to come for appointments specific times during the week. And that's Tuesday evening and also on Thursday mornings. And that way we can also segue into the focus on self-management. We have Lisa Lassiter Jordan, who's in the audience. She is the RN, BSN that we hired recently in order to be the Diabetes Management Clinic Coordinator. And Sylvia Boone, who is sitting next to her, is our practice manager. And so Lisa, Lisa is the person who really focuses on the self-management, teaching individuals how they can eat, about their nutrition, what's the appropriate weight, exercise, etc. We have on-site, the DSME stands for Diabetic Self-Management Education. And also we have on-site MNT, which stands for Medical Nutrition Therapy, as I previously explained. And then we also, we want to segue into support groups eventually. We received the grant announcement, I believe it was in May of this year, and the start date for the actual Diabetes Management Clinic was June 1st. So we're very young. Here it is July 1st. Let me move on. Some of the key points, as Esther had mentioned, we were able to have funding designated to purchase a telehealth unit because their access is a major issue. As you noticed in the previous presentation slides, we wanted to make sure if we could not get the doctors out here to the community, let's find another avenue in order to bring them out here for the patients. It's not fair to really depend upon our outside experts to provide that care where patients have to go to them versus them coming to us. So telehealth is an opportunity that we wanted to use. Albemarle Hospital, they actually have been able to refine telehealth with their psychiatry program. And so we're going to be purchasing a telehealth unit in order to be able to access specialists via telehealth. Albemarle Hospital has a telehealth unit. We're in the process of purchasing one. Initially, we're going to utilize a telehealth unit for our diabetic educator to provide counseling, individual counseling and also group counseling. And eventually we'll be able to use it for our specialist. Also, another key point to this is our hemoglobin A1C point of care machine. We're purchasing a hemoglobin A1C machine in order to provide that kind of screening on site. Also the use of what we call Allscripts EHR system. Many of you have heard about electronic health record systems. A lot of different healthcare organizations are going to that. Once again, we're very fortunate to receive funding from the OBC Foundation about 2 years ago in order to purchase and implement an electronic health record system. And so that's very critical because we will be able to not only capture the outcomes of our patients, but also will be able to track those outcomes. And that will help us to go after further funding. Also, the American Diabetic Association 2013 clinical guidelines will help us to remain consistent, not only with the guidelines that are established for the health center, but also nationally. Sustainability and reimbursement. This is a very critical aspect of the plan. Reimbursement will come from our provider visits, so we will be able to, when the patient comes in to see Dr. Pollard or any one of our providers, we will be able to submit claims to those insurance companies. The A1C point of care, once again, we can provide better screening for our patients. And also the diabetic self-management education, providing the necessary education that people need in order to change their lifestyle. And then finally, the medical nutrition therapy. People need to know what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. Our budget, as is outlined for you, and I keep referring back to the OBC Healthcare Foundation because they're so critical in providing us, and you see the bottom line, $155,000. So it's a huge amount of money that's coming into this community that we started utilizing, initially in hiring Lisa and also in purchasing our telehealth machine and doing many other things for this population. Marketing. Marketing is very, very important because we want to get the word out to everybody within the community. It's important to establish a program, but we need to make sure that people know we exist and also that this program exists for them. So the task force in Gateway Community Health Center will use existing partners to market services as well. So advertisements with local media, TV, radio, newspaper, Gates County Chamber of Commerce website, partner websites and newsletters, distribution of promotional flyers, advertisement at local community events, and the Gates Partners for Health Facebook page. Quality improvement and evaluation. This aspect also is critical because we laid out an entire plan. We said we're starting this diabetes management clinic, and we really need to be able to demonstrate the success of the program. So we have to really monitor the quality improvement outcomes. We're looking at access, our clinical outcomes. Are you improving with your A1C? Your self-management education. Are you learning? Are you changing your lifestyle? And also the impact, quality, and satisfaction. The Gates Partners for Health, they actually have a quality improvement committee, and so they meet on a quarterly basis. And the beauty of this program is that we will be including that whole venture, Gates Partners for Health, into this whole clinical program, so that we're constantly communicating with the body of people that actually designated that we really needed to have this diabetes clinic. And this will be our avenue in regard to keeping the communications open. Our next phase, year 2, number 1, we're going to increase access to diabetes clinical management by hiring a part-time primary care provider. Number 2, increase access to diabetes education and nutrition counseling by hiring a part-time registered dietitian. And then in year 3, we're going to be contracting with additional clinical specialists to provide care within Gates County or remotely via telehealth or teleconferencing. We're going to also purchase a retinal camera. This is an idea that we stole from Kaiser Permanente. I love to steal great ideas. We want to be able to purchase a retinal camera so that providers can take the pictures of the eyes of the diabetics, and hopefully at that time they'll be able to determine if you're going to have problems becoming blind or any other kind of issues, and therefore refer you out to the appropriate specialists. So there's a lot of prevention within this program. And then evaluate the need for pediatric diabetes clinical services. As we know, there's so much talk, and there's facts with that as it relates to pediatric diabetes. And this will give us a foundation to begin to expand our service so that we can begin to focus on that population. Conclusion. The Gates County Comprehensive Diabetes Plan will improve the health and quality of life of Gates County residents by increasing access to evidence-based clinical care, providing self-management education and support, and improving the overall clinical outcomes. Before I say, do you have any questions, I also want to recognize Commissioner Jordan. I really want to thank you for your participation and support throughout this whole process. Commissioner Jordan, he was instrumental in participating in the Gateway Community Health Center strategic planning session. Also went to Virginia when OBC Foundation had a big breakfast. So thank you for your participation and support. We really appreciate it.
Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. That is all that I have, so I want to open up the floor for any questions.
All right. Question?
I asked you one, and I mean, Ms. Laster has told us this, but I've forgotten it, I think, but in Gates County, what percentage of our populations is impacted by diabetes? Do we know?
I
think-
don't
I
have
think you
those
told me that
statistics in
before.
front of me, but I believe it was on the last report, the State of the County Health Report. We know that
think
cancer is the leading cause of death in Gates County, and followed that was cardiac arrest, and third is diabetes.
And do you remember?
The percentage, I can't remember right
Not
off.
that, but where did we rank in the state as far as a county? Do you remember? I know you've said that before, but I can't remember either.
Yeah, and I don't have that. I don't have that data, with
I'll
me.
look it up.
But good for you. But as you know, we have clinical people here. I'm not clinical. I pretend to be. We have individuals with diabetes have what they call comorbidities. So when you talk about hypertension, when you talk about all these other diseases, it's so important to start with. If you start with diabetes, then you're going to start touching on all these other issues that, you know, your neighbors, your family members, people within your community have. So you're absolutely right. We may not rank very high as it relates to diabetes, but it's going to impact those other chronic diseases.
Right. I think the best comparison when you're looking would be to look at all Tier 1 counties.
Oh,
Because, you know, poverty and things like that do play a role. And so a comparison there might be a better
That's right.
way to look at it.
That would be very interesting. And that's something through the Gates Partners for Health we can definitely look at, you know, which would also help for future funding for the Community Health Center too.
And as you referenced the book, I believe that data that you've asked about is included in that
I
information.
think it was. I just can't remember.
And if you would give me just one more moment, I want to recognize my board member, Jeff Merritt. Hi, Jeff. He sits on the board for the Gateway Community Health Center. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And to add a note at the end, for the past 2 years, Board of Commissioners have supported us with a total of $20,000 over the 2 years. Look at what the investment has turned. $25,000 last year, $155,000 this year.
Good job.
Thank you for your financial support.
Very good. Thank you for all that you're doing as well, Ms. Nashby. Thank you so much. We do appreciate the information and the services that's being provided to our citizens. The next on our delegations will be Mr. Mike Scott, Gates County Housing. All right.
I will be doing the presentation for Mike, and I'm Lee Riddick, the chairperson of the Gates County Housing Committee, and I want to say good evening to everyone who is here, Chairman Jordan and the members of the Gates County Commissioner Board and the citizen of Gates County. On behalf of the Gates County Housing Committee, I'm pleased to report to you the successful completion of the Gates County Housing Assessment. This project was funded by the North Carolina Commission, North Carolina Department of Commerce and the Division of Community Assistance with a $100,000 CDB capacity building grant. The Gates County Housing Assessment is included in a depth of visual evaluation of the housing units in Gates County that was classified fair, poor, very poor by the Gates County Tax Assessment Officer. There was over 1,100 houses and units with this classification receiving exterior visual windshield assessment. And this information will record in a master database for future housing grants. All of you just received a copy of it there. And I guess other copies will be available for the public to look at also. Okay, and also this here will deal with housing grants in the future and also what the county can look at to apply for future grants. And I want to express my appreciation for Chris Kraut, who was the one that went out and did the windshield assessment. In addition to the exterior visual assessment of these units, this project entailed detailed demographic views of Gates County, particularly in the place of housing. This study includes information range from population, household race, ethnicity, income, poverty status, home ownership, housing costs, and housing challenges. Recognizing the demographic and nature constantly change, this study nonetheless provide a basic understanding of the challenge faced by many of our citizens when it comes to one of the basic human rights, which is having access to decent, safe, and sanitation and affordable housing. I will hope that you will take time to review the housing assessment and use it in the spirit of which it was intended. for improvement over overall housing condition for the citizen of Gates County. There's a lot of information presented into the housing assessment, but there are a few points contained in this report I believe would merit a highlight with you today. Total housing units in Gates County increased by 18.1 from 2000 to 2010. 23.5 of Gates County total housing stock was built prior to 1959. So you can see from there's a lot of old houses in Gates County. Owners' occupancy of these houses decreased slightly, and from 2000 to 2010, it was 82.10, and in 2010, it dropped to 81.60. Rental occupation and housing increased slightly from 17.90 to 18.40. So you see there's more people are renting. 13.6 of all households, head of household, are females. Okay, 29.3 of the county rental occupation, expensive housing cost burden, which is a serious house cost burden, and 32.1 is overall owner occupant, experience the same type of problem. And then there's a footnote in your brochure that will talk about the cost burden, which is identified by HUD, which this cost is equal to 30% over the total household income. As the chairman of this housing committee, I want to thank the Board of Commissioners for your support in this project and for your commitment to ensure that all Gates County citizens have access to affordable, decent, safe housing. The members of the Housing Committee are committed to use all available resources to address our housing need challenges one house at a time. We're looking forward to working hand in hand with the Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Gates County to make this place we call home better for everyone. If there are any technical questions, Mike will answer them. I know y'all haven't had a time to read it, but once that you do read it and you have questions, I'm pretty sure you can get in contact with Mike, or either the Housing Committee would be glad to address those things. Are there any questions?
Thank you for a great report. This opens the door for a lot of things. And
Personally, I think that it is a document that when there are some grants come available through the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, through the CDDB block grant, you have a document right now that you can go and look at and you can support and be willing to match the 10% match or whatever the match that it is to make decent and affordable housing for the citizen of Gates County.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question?
sure.
I know, Mr. Riddick, that when we were on the planning board together, we talked about having I don't know what you would call it, a fair or something to make people aware of the options available, resources that they could to obtain that to help them with housing. You know, maybe that's something we can think about in the future.
No, we probably could get together and put one together.
Because a lot of people don't know what the options are.
Right, because you got North Carolina Housing Finance Agency, you got the, in Winton, the, I always call it, went over my head, but it's a federal program that they can do loans and things for rehabbing. I'm pretty sure that Kevin Askew runs that program, but I'm pretty sure that funds now for CDBGs, North Carolina Housing Finance, is going to be far in between. It used to be a 2-year waiting period. I don't know what it's going to come out to be next, but anytime that we have an opportunity to get a grant, I think that we need to support and try to get one. Because you improve the quality of the house, and that means the tax base of that house that was probably worth $20,000, you add another 20 into it, you have increased the tax base, and eventually the county going to get back their matching funds. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask really a question? I'll say, how long is this book going to be good for? Is this like a 10-year book or 5-year book before another study might happen? Maybe Mike might know.
The demographics are probably good until the next census.
Okay.
And there's always a lag even then. The 2010 census wasn't even totally available until 2012, and even in counties like Gates County, smaller rural counties, still don't have the comprehensive census data that's in larger metropolitan areas. So I would say, as far as just the framework, you don't see a huge shift one way or the other, over a 5 or 10 year period.
Right.
So I'd say it's a pretty good framework. Some of your funding sources might change, and those types of things, but at least the
No, in other words, it's something that the county can use for 5 to 10 years anyway, hopefully.
I think the information in here, if you did, it would take 20 years, right, Mike, almost, to clean up what is already out there
All right,
at the rate of the grants that we are getting. That's what I'm trying to say,
right.
okay? And thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda will be our administrative reports, our county manager report.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm pleased to present the June County Manager's Report. I want to give you some highlights of various administrative, operational, and project things that are going on. The budget is being implemented. It's beginning. Today was the first working day of the new budget. We have briefed the departments and the agencies and have provided them with a budget overview for FY14, as well as the end, if you will, of FY13. We've established 3 employee committees, a welfare committee, employee welfare committee for wellness and morale, that's tied to our insurance, as well as for the well-being and professional development of employees, a safety committee to look at OSHA standards, material safety data sheets, and overall safety of the county buildings for the employees and the public. A 3rd committee called Continuous Improvement to identify ways for organizational growth so that we can reinvest in our organization to improve it from an efficiency standpoint and from a customer service standpoint, so we can begin every day and make it better than the day before. So we've established those committees and we've made appointments to those committees, and as Mrs. Green-Holly has stated, they are working fervently in a very good direction. We hope to be able to see some employee growth, to eliminate these OSHA fines that we have received in the past, and to really just make the betterment of the employees, which are one of our biggest resources, our people, better to improve. So I want to bring that to your attention. We had a ad hoc animal welfare advisory committee meeting this past month, and we've had a hurricane scenario with staff. We went through a hurricane readiness exercise. It was very good in that we learned through some mistakes that we'd made, and we're working to correct those to make sure that we have covered all the bases, if you will, in the event of a hurricane or any sort of disaster situation, all the way from preparation to response to recovery and debris management. Operationally, we've worked very hard with emergency services on disaster preparedness, and we've conducted that scenario. We've got a lot of IT needs, and we're working with the Department of Social Services to address some of their IT needs. They are very much on the cutting edge of some things that we want to bring forward. to the board to improve our IT infrastructure. We've had a lot of telephone outages and internet outages, some that are community-wide, that the community, their own private residents have witnessed, but some that are problematic and just localized to our network. And we're going to be working to fix those with some firewalls and some reinvestment in servers and technology. This coming month, we have a site visit scheduled by the Secretary of the Department of Public Safety to talk about the closed prison facility and the potential county use of that facility. I want to highlight a date change that occurred today. That meeting is not going to be on July 10th. It's going to be on July 11th at 10 a.m. on the site. We have a team, if you will, pretty extensive team, and we've invited folks that we feel like would be good presenters, if you will. We've got a very short amount of time for that secretary's visit, probably within the range of 30 or 45 minutes. They're tacking that on to a visit that they're having in Elizabeth City, and we were very fortunate enough to get them to come to Gates County. So we're going to hit them hard and fast because we don't have them very long, and we hope to make a good pitch for the public's enjoyment of that facility, and it not being sold or not going through that sort of process, but being recaptured for the residents of Gates County. I also want to make you aware of some project or operational issues. We anticipate working very hard with utilities. We've received several utility complaints. I want to make it public that we are working to address those complaints from a customer service standpoint. They revolve and remain maintenance issues, and we want to fix those leaks and make sure that the residents know that we're working very hard on the utility system. We worked also very hard with the schools, and I've been fortunate enough to be working with the superintendent of schools on shared services. We hope to have some good results very quickly on some very exciting things to at least come together, if not save money, and realize some of the quality improvements that we look forward to on a daily basis. And then finally, been working with the planning board on a CIP process that we want to get the ball rolling for a capital improvement plan and have that online for the FY15 budget. And that involves all the agencies and departments, including the schools. They've got a lot of facility needs. The county's got a lot of facility needs. We want to use our dollars very wisely and get the biggest bang, if you will, for the buck. And we're working towards that. It's going to be a very collaborative process, and we're using the planning board as a sounding board because oftentimes our land use decisions are impacting the capital needs, so far as school seats and the ability to handle additional population. I want to move very quickly into the projects. We have 3 ongoing projects, as you're aware. The library project remains open. The HVAC issue has not been fixed. We are withholding the final payment and working to fix that HVAC. It will produce cold air, but not to our satisfaction. And that's the easiest way to describe it. We don't know if it's a programming issue or a mechanical issue. Our sense is that it's probably a programming issue, and we look forward to having that fixed. The sanitary sewer project, there's a report in the packet regarding the status of the sanitary sewer phase 1. It is still open. We would very much like to see that project closed. However, the change order accounting has not been finally negotiated, and it's something that needs to be done. It's been 90 days since we had our last negotiation with the contractor. I want to bring it to the board's attention that we're working on that, but we do feel like the attention needs to be brought to it. The sun needs to shine on it, and that we're working to fix those issues, but they do remain issues, and it needs to be in your mind's eye as we move forward. And then finally, that brings us to sanitary sewer phase 2. We have got some cost and a timeline put together, and that's in your packet as well, about how much it would cost to bring a spray field up to par from a permitting standpoint. That very much ties into the phase 1 as to whether or not you want to move forward with one project open and move forward with the second one. And just wanted to give you all that information for future discussions and future deliberation. I think it's important that you look at it and have time to digest it fully. I'm going to flip the page in the packet, and you'll see that sewer information. Wanted to highlight it to you. The memo is Phase 1 sewer project closeout issues, and it gives a nice summary of what has gone on, as well as the backup and supporting data from a financial and a time standpoint, so you can see the whole picture and all the pieces of the puzzle as they come together. And I also wanted to apprise you of several budget amendments as we closed out the fiscal year underneath the dollar threshold that requires board approval. And those are Budget Amendment 58 and 59, as well as 60. And I'll be pleased to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, John. Any questions before we get started? I have a couple I'll start off with. We have a light issue at DSS where the outside lights are out. And it's basically no lighting thereafter dark. Has that been brought to your attention?
It has, Mr. Chairman. The Director of the Department of Social Services was advised that in the end of the fiscal year that we could not do that. It is on our work list of things to do. Lighting and security at the courthouse and the Social Services building are a prime concern. It is something that we'll be more than happy to look at now that we're in the new fiscal year.
Okay, so that is on the agenda to be addressed.
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. I guess the second item would be the Kavanaugh issue. There seems to be, let me get my notes here. Kavanaugh has presented a budget for moving forward in regards to the spray field. And at this point, we need to initiate a contract, a budget, and I guess a schedule. Do you need further guidance before we can move forward in that?
Yes, sir. The reason Phase 1 was brought up is I think it ties very directly into Phase 2. If we're not able to close out with these change orders and the amount that they are, some $300,000 in changes, if we can't get to a negotiated settlement with the contractor and the engineer, I would be very wary and very cautious of moving forward because some of these could very well be design-related issues that need to be resolved. Otherwise, you could have a tremendous liability with the Phase 1 still open with that amount of change orders on the table. The change orders exceed 10% of the total value of that work in Phase 1.
Board, I think we need to talk about this in closed session. So we'll discuss that. Okay.
John, let me ask one question. On the thing where it's got pay item number 3, driveway of a drive repair, do you have any idea what that's related to? It's $20,540. Is that in those notes?
There should be a supporting material that looks,
Okay, all right, I'll look for it.
it's horizontal in nature,
Right, yeah.
Commissioner.
You're referring, John, to the text right below it, or somewhere else in the document?
The text right below it. Yes, sir.
So, all right, if I ask that, Commerce Drive, now what is Commerce Drive?
Commerce Drive is the roadway behind the bank, behind State Employees Credit Union, off of Sunny Lane.
One glaring thing that jumps out at me is this request was not pre-authorized prior to installation.
You'll notice that note on a lot of them. That's a reoccurring theme.
Of course, also in that same item, I think it's the first time they recommended something less than full payment.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
Well, the thing I didn't understand, I thought we were just bringing it to that, to the front of it. And I didn't realize we were responsible for that. That don't look like that's Gates County to me. Not behind the bank.
Mr. Chairman, do you need a motion to put this in closed session?
Well, I think it can be covered under
Council.
discussion of business.
Number 3.
Right. I think it's
All right.
18,
Okay.
11A 304. All right, we'll move forward if there are no other questions. The county manager. And we'll have our finance report and tax report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You have 2 reports in front of you tonight. The one report is for the month of June, and the other report is our comprehensive report to close out the fiscal year. Really not much to report with the month of June. I guess I want to quickly go to the good news. If you will notice on our comprehensive report, our overall collection rate this year was 95.14, which we were very pleased with. The ad valorem collection rate on the annual bills was 96.57. Last year it was 95.85, so we have had an increase there. The motor vehicles this year were 80.06. Last year, 80.56, so we've had a little bit of a decrease there. Last year, our overall collection rate was 94.57, and this year we were able to bring that up to 95.14. And I would like to call your attention down at the bottom of the page. You will see the funds received through Zacchaeus Legal Services. It's a little over $69,000. So that's just how much money we were able to bring in and working with them. You will also see what the debt set-off program brought in, a little over $22,000. And also the foreclosures that we still have with Travis Ellis, some over $13,000. The line that you see, the motor vehicle interest, that 3%, that total, a little over $5,700, those funds will remain with the county as of July 1. This upcoming year, we will no longer be sending that to the state. That was funds that were being sent to the state to work with the new motor vehicle system and to establish that. So that will now come back to the county. Do y'all have any questions in reference to either report?
Is that, that line 54, the motor vehicle interest?
Mm-hmm.
Is that an item that we'll won't see after a while, or is that going to continue to?
Well, no, you won't be seeing that
Okay.
line item anymore. And like I say, that will be funds that we will keep here in the county instead of sending to the state.
So on the 6,497,000, Renee, if I take that and take out the Gatesville taxes, and I can't remember this, is the fire fees part of the 16 and 4 cents?
No, the fire fees are
So they're
separate.
independent of that, so
What we actually collected in taxes, if you'll go back up as far as our general taxes,
it's
is the
61.58.
6.1.
Right.
All right.
I would like to let you know that as of this past Saturday, our September renewals went to DMV. So far, hopefully, we're still on schedule with that, and we were real pleased. Out of, I think we had around 1,200, they're abstracts, but motor vehicles, and out of those that they reviewed, we had one that they had questions with that we're going to have to do a few corrections on, so we thought we did pretty good with that. And hopefully, if everything goes well, we will be getting out the 2013 bills during the first part of August. And this year, I wanted to let you know that our growth in real estate was between $5 and $6 million, which is not a good number. It's pretty steady with what we've seen the last 2 or 3 years, but when growth was good and we were looking at 20, 25 million, 5 to 6 is not a great number.
New construction.
New construction.
So if we, another question, if we look at the vehicles of $550,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's 80%. So really, that 80%, that represents a gross of about 700,000. So we got a potential of collecting another 150,000. And what was the, but the state, I saw that in the state bill where they were gonna get, what, 48 cents?
Yes, they have a bill to bring in more money for the license plate agencies, so that will increase what comes out.
So that 48 cent though is related to the whole 700 and not the 550, is that right?
That's correct.
So
Yeah, so by the
trying to
time
find
the
out-
state gets through, we'll be bringing in about the same thing we've been bringing in.
that's what it's beginning to look like.
So, but, and I do believe too, initially, that fee was is about 30 cents higher, and then a year later, it will go down. I guess maybe that's to help them with the implementation of it. I'm not real sure, but, no, that bill is out there, so. Any other questions?
All right.
One other thing I would like to kind of add to what Mr. Mendenhall said in reference to our technology, and he talking about our phone systems and computers being out. This past week, I know utilities and the tax department, and I'm sure the finance department was the very same way. We lost a day and a half of work due to the phone system being out. So when the phone system's out, our computer system is out. It does give us opportunity to clean out files, but that's not really what we'd like to be doing. So.
And I think, John, I mean, that's a problem not locally, I mean, as on our premises, that's down the road where they're repairing lines or something?
My understanding is we've had that issue of the construction of 13. The last major outage that affected residents countywide, it also affected 911, I believe was a break in Scotland Neck. But our phones are hosted, the software and the host of the system is in Tennessee. It's all outsourced in that manner. So we have the switches and the phones on the desk, but there's no actual hardware behind all that. It's all in Tennessee, and I think that's where the issue was. We have some very good IT staff on contract that worked on it for us, but it was very painful and difficult, as the tax administrator said.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, if you look down the agenda, you see the various reports from the department. I do have a comment on our expenditure reports in your package. I noticed under our expenditures for the sheriff department, under animal control, we have a three.
What account,
Page number?
what account number is that? The old page number?
Page number on the top right.
Yeah, I got it written down, but I didn't
Okay.
find it. Page three. Yeah. Okay, on page three, if you look at the animal control line item, it has $1,000 budgeted. Activity this period was $3,224. And expenditure for year-to-date was $3,679. And so that shows an expenditure encumbrance of 368% over budget. So, yeah, obviously, I believe we're working to find somewhere to get those funds, but that catches the attention, and it does make you wonder why we had such an overage.
Mr. Chairman, there were several overages in what I'm going to call law enforcement because it includes Department Code 4310, which is the Sheriff's Department, as well as Department Code 4320, which is the jail. 4310, Sheriff's Department, Animal Control, which is Object Code 298. A lot of that had to do with the seizure of the pit bulls and the resultant medical care that they had. The overage in the inmate in the jail, Department Code 4320, Object Code 695, was also medical care for some inmates that had some serious health issues, and that pushed us over in that line as well. You'll recall a budget amendment at the last meeting that tried to rectify as much as that as possible. I believe all that has settled itself out.
John, do you recall how long we housed those inmates? Or how long we were responsible?
How many inmates?
Now, how long for?
How long they were
I mean,
housed?
were these, we obviously arrested people and took them to a facility. Was it an immediate?
No, actually, the health conditions were latent to the individual that was arrested, meaning that we had to expend funds because of his latent issues.
Okay.
And that has happened on several occasions. Once they become our custody, once they come into our custody, we're responsible for any sort of health issues they have, if they have diabetes or heart issues, or even if they have some sort of communicable disease, a STD or anything like that, it becomes ours to deal with.
Okay.
But I just want to point out from with what was mentioned there, we really don't have an audit issue until the total line is negative. And if you look at the jail, that's one that is going to have the budget amendment in 432695.
Is that the same page?
Yeah, it's right below it. Matter of fact, right below it. That's right. Where you see the budgeted jail, that one does require a budget amendment, at least according to, what was his name, J.P. Jones. But that one you were speaking about, Henry, you could actually let that stay exactly like it is. But you must, when the department itself is over the budgeted line item, you do have to have an adjustment. So in other words, see, that basically is favorable, what there, $68,000 departmentally. Whereas the jail is $16,000 unfavorable.
John,
Yes, sir.
is on that animal control where we pick up these dogs and we have to carry them to the vets, I guess that's where the expense is coming from. Is there any way to recoup that money?
That's a good question,
Commissioner?
Commissioner.
Maybe through the court system if the person is found guilty or something like that?
There is the ad hoc welfare committee for the animals has been meeting, and they have met twice. The lady with the Tri-County Animal Shelter has brought forward some good information about how to, if animals are seized, how to go through the civil process or the criminal process to capture the money for their medical care.
Right.
And for the feeding as well. So there is a process for that. It's more intensive. You just can't go seize animals. You got to do some paperwork
Right.
with the court before you go out and get them.
Okay.
If I may, John, Commissioner Jernigan, at the first meeting, that was an item that we spent probably a third of our conversation on. And an example that came up that created a huge financial liability was horses.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
More than dogs. But there, in Virginia, there are some ordinances or that one of the ladies is familiar with, and I assume that's what she brought back, that information. So we'll be hearing more on that.
Okay. Thank you.
A couple more that I want to bring to the attention of John and the board. If you go into the Water Department on page 25, and there again, you know, this doesn't put you over in the department, but it makes you wonder what happened. It says miscellaneous emergencies, we went 640% over a budgeted expenditure. What does Tim use those? I mean, what was that about?
I can't speak to that object code in general. I will tell you that we had some pumps down in the treatment building, and those pumps had to be rebuilt, and they did cost a considerable amount of money to rebuild both of those pumps.
Do the department heads, do they have to talk with you before overspending like that? Or just does happen?
Yes, they typically will come and talk. If it's an emergency situation, if our potable water is in jeopardy, we do give them a little bit of leeway to make judgment calls, if you will, so we don't run out of water in the middle of the night or anything like that. That we try to use a good common sense approach.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, on that same line item, I see the appropriated amount, $500. Was that for fiscal year? $500?
That's a good question as well. I'm not sure what the initial budget was. That is the budget after any sort of amendments that may have been made. So what you're seeing is the budget as it was on 610, which makes it hard to compare. But $500 will not buy you a whole lot in the water world.
I was wondering if that was all that was allotted, the 640% over is...
Well, typically, that's what we start out with, what
Right.
was budgeted for the beginning of the fiscal year. All right, you know, these departmental reports is very good innovation, and it gives us, the commissioners, a good, you know, overview of what's going on. I notice also that GITS, in part of their planned projected work, they're looking at areas to cut services to deal with sequestration and so forth and so on. Are you, that's the GITS item. It says we're working on a plan to prioritize and cut services for agencies out of funds. We're working to eliminate/reduce services for 2013-14 fiscal year in an effort to allow us to make additional profits and or survive the sequestration cuts. And you know, I'm wondering, what does that have to deal with?
There are two types of cuts that are taking place, as well as the cuts that the county imposed on departments and agencies. The first one is from other agencies. As you know, GITS contracts with several folks, including Hertford County DSS, Gates County DSS, as well as some other service providers. So those agencies could be forcing cuts or cuts in the request for services, perhaps not the monetary amount that they're compensating, but the number of times they call. The third is sequestration, which we've talked about a bit at our budget retreat, and that's the unknown cuts of the federal government and Medicaid, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act impacts to the way services are handled, but generally the overall cuts and what I'm going to call the block grant programs that aging runs and that the state runs as a pass-through entity to the Albemarle Commission as well as others. Those cuts are still ongoing and forthcoming. You're seeing it with the furloughs at the federal facilities. Those types of cuts that are canceling the 4th of July fireworks at Oceana are the same types of cuts that are impacting Health and Human Services in North Carolina and throughout the nation. It's the same cuts, just a different agencies being cut and prioritizing accordingly. But sequestration refers to those block grant programs that are being cut.
I think the thing we want to be mindful of is to be sensitive to the fact that, you know, we've got a lot of senior citizens that depend on the transportation and the various services that GITS provides. if we know these things are coming, we want to try to make it public knowledge so that other arrangements can be made and that our people be aware that, you know, if we're going to have cuts in travel to Elizabeth City or whatever, or you can't pick elderly citizens up on a certain days, those are the kind of things that I feel, board, it needs to be publicized to some extent so that, you know, they're aware of what's coming, not get a phone call that says, well, I can't help you today. And, you know, all of a sudden we start getting phone calls. So just put that out there.
I think what you see, Mr. Chairman, in this report is trying to plan for how that will look and to make adequate provision that people don't get that response when they call, that we know in advance and we make prudent and careful decisions and let people know. I think communication and letting people know is the object of that, and that's what's going on.
One or two other items that caught my eye. It's the old courthouse. I see that under our maintenance department. The roofing repairs are ongoing, and we had some communication with Clearscapes about making sure that we work with North Carolina Preservation and Historical Society, I guess. Are they aware of those repairs being made now, and are they in agreement with it?
Clearscapes is aware of the roof, and we have had some conversation about the cupola, and I think that is left to be undetermined at this time, what we're going to do with the cupola. The cupola's in bad shape. In a hurricane or a wind event, it could become a hazard to the public. I'm not a structural engineer, so I couldn't speak to that in those terms. The architect has requested that we take pictures of the courthouse and the roof and so on and so forth. We're still trying to figure out how to do that in a safe manner. We don't have the expertise on staff to do a lot of the requests that we receive like that. So we're working on that, but it's proven to be somewhat difficult at this time.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I talked to Claudia Devaney, who's with North Carolina Preservation, and she gave me a couple ideas about the photos that we could do. Also, Reed Thomas, I think, will be helpful, that we need to contact both of those.
Right. And just give them an update, maybe shoot them an email, Reed Thomas an email to let them know this is what's going on.
Gatesville Fire Department might be able to assist you in getting close to get a photograph.
That's what Claudia Devaney said, maybe a fire department or like Dominion Power or REA with one of their bucket trucks could lift someone up to take photos of that. Also, but Reed Thomas about making sure that we don't do anything to jeopardize credits that we could earn.
Right, historical integrity.
Yes.
All right. We got, like I said, one or two more. On the EMS departmental report, which is Billy, there's an item there that talks about the transport, the MT1, I believe it is, transport without permit. And we're all aware of the service that's gone out of business. And so I'm wondering, how is that going to affect the availability of EMS service for the county? Let me find it here. Yeah. It says intervention of MTI for transporting in Gates County without a permit. What is that?
Mr. Chairman, I would have to get some more information from Mr. Nguyen on that.
I think we need to be a little bit more apprised on what's going on there, because we've lost Harold's service, emergency service provision, and I'm not familiar with what this is about. You know, we may need to permit someone else. I know we talked about it in a couple other meetings. The last item, on the water department, one of the issues we're dealing with as a county is water leaks. I know that the water department has a lot of other issues going on, but I think all of the identified outstanding leaks should be put on this report and some plan or scheduled date for repair. There's an outstanding leak at Thicket Road, and we have reports that several thousand gallons per day or week. I've seen computations of 1 million gallons. I'm not sure over how long a period of time that is, but I looked at the leak, and it's definitely a stream. I mean, you can see the water just running. And rode a little farther down, and it looked like another leak on Thicket Road. There have been some in Sunbury, all over the county. But I think they need to be quantified. They need to be documented and kept up with, and have some type of schedule as to when the repairs are going to be done. And I noticed here we talk about minor leak repair that's ongoing. What do we constitute as a minor leak from a water department standpoint? When you're leaking several hundred gallons a day or more, I'm not sure if that's a minor leak.
About a year and a half, I stopped at one that was leaking through a valve at a residence and took this bottle here. And it's pretty close, but I think every 7 seconds this was filled up, and it calculated about 440 gallons a day. So all leaks are important from the standpoint of it's not so much the revenue stream, and then you had to go back and calculate the energy, I guess, involved with that, because we sometimes think water is one of these renewable resources, and it is to a certain extent, but it's still important to capture and not waste. And so my opinion is if we can't do it internally ourselves, that, hey, we go get and hire the people to do it out of our fund balance, let's get them fixed, and where they are manageable, and we kill several birds with one stone.
I think the first step to that is identify them, document them. You know, our citizens, when they have water leaks, we charge them. You know, if they come and say, well, I lost several thousand gallons, my bill is $300, you know, unless we give them some relief, they have to pay that bill. And so they have to get the leaks fixed. So I would ask the support of the board, let's get that included, identify those leaks when they come up, and let's have some kind of tracking mechanism for them, so that we as commissioners won't continue to get calls or not be able to respond to many of the questions that comes up about leaks.
And
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion?
Well, County Manager, do you think we don't?
I hear consensus. I think it's an administrative issue and be happy to take care of it. Any of these reports, if y'all are not happy with something, just let me know and we'll make you happy. We'll get you what you need.
Well, the water leaks are very visible, and certainly we get calls regular, because I've looked at more water running out of pipes than I ever realized.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. So we'll just
Well,
get that on the report as to.
I'd like to make another comment about this. You know, some time ago, we talked about the 2-month billing, 3-month, or whatever. There again, if you free the people up, their time up from having to read the meter, it gives us more time to fix the incidental leaks that are out there. Sure, they're going to happen, but when you sit there and let them continue like we've been doing, then you think about that. You know, how many are you going to actually lose? from that standpoint. And I don't know what the standard deviation, I did calculate that at the time. I know in Kill Devil Hills, they're on 3 months billing cycle. I mean, that's a large municipality, I mean, from that standpoint. Gatesville is, and I don't understand this, they're billing on 2, but they're reading them every month. So, you know, that don't make sense to me, but I think the time is here to make those savings that Timmy identified, just said it was in the billing process, and I know that they are real. There's no question that they were real dollars. Now, the time savings is another issue, as I've said before. It's about a management thing. Do you utilize your people for the time that you've captured by not having to spend on this task, that you do divert it to another meaningful task, which to me, this becomes the most meaningful task. It's fixing the leaks rather than reading the meter and worrying about that. Where we going to do that, whether you read it 1 month or 2 months? So I'd rather capture the leaks myself and fix them rather than billing. And then, of course, we addressed the issue one time before that some people want to pay it monthly. Well, we can still have that functionality. That's up to the individual. If he can't pay it on a 2-month basis, and there's not a problem on the revenue stream side because all this is in the water department that has a large fund balance that's like an enterprise, is the enterprise fund, so it's not material and it has no impact. So it operates like a business, and I think the timing is right with these leaks and stuff that we free this up and let's see what happens. You know, we get the time to get it done. If we can't fix them, get the outside contractors, get them in here, let's get the leaks fixed and be done with it, because it is important to do that. And now I don't know how the citizens would adjust to that. I think quite a few of them will do right well with it. Some may not, but there again, if you give the flexibility of paying the 1 month or the 2 month, however you want to pay it, then it really, I can't see where it's a real problem. Then I know it helps in the billing office too. There again, remember those transactionals that I was showing you, which we made a smart thing in doing and breaking them up into 2. But now if you break it up into decrease it by 50% more, then it's even better. So you got some clerical time sitting out there to help address some of these issues, as well as giving them some free time to do other tasks within the department, and hopefully improve customer service overall.
Well, those are, you know, good, potentially good suggestions, but, you know, Timmy's gonna have to decide how he uses personnel and prioritize that, and I think John has said that's an operational issue and administrative.
Mr. Chairman, county manager said he can make us happy. That's what I heard.
All right. Well, and I think that John has got the message and instructions to, let's try to, you know, put some type of direction on where we go with this. And I think we can leave it at that.
I wrote down he can make us happy.
Okay. All right. Okay, the next item on our agenda is a public hearing. There's none tonight. We don't have any old business. On the new business, we have consideration of a request to hold a public hearing on an ordinance to regulate nuisances. And I believe that you have a copy of the ordinance in your package. And hopefully everyone's had a chance to look over it. I thought it was pretty timely. I guess my only question would be, would you need signatures on it?
Mr. Chairman, we need to set a public hearing. I recommend that we advertise as general statute requires and set a public hearing for July 15th at 7 p.m.
Board, is there any discussion on on this nuisance and your desire to have it implemented?
Mr. Chairman, who actually wrote that?
John?
It was me, Commissioner. It was me.
We've gotten a lot of complaints.
I know, I realize that. I gave one to John myself.
Well, I know from time to time, we've heard complaints like this,
Right,
and this is addressing it,
exactly.
so I'm all for it.
All right, we'll call for a motion to schedule the nuisance ordinance for a public hearing on July 15th. Was that 7 o'clock?
Yes, sir, 7 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we schedule a public hearing on this nuisance ordinance and use the date of July 15th, 2013 at 7 p.m.
Second the motion.
All right, so motion is second. Any other further discussion? None, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you. Next item, be the consideration of a request to hold a joint meeting with the town of Gatesville. That's going to be on the same day as our county commissioner meeting, which is, I believe, August 7th. Is that right?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Okay. Our commissioners meeting at 10 o'clock, so hopefully we'll be done at 1.
Isn't that the day of our luncheon?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Well,
So, do you want to come back after lunch and do it?
I got a suggestion.
Okay.
This is August the 7th. I kind of like the meeting we're having tonight myself.
Meet with the... Change that to a night meeting?
Yeah, I like that, Jack. But that's up to you guys. I'm flexible.
I usually have a commitment on
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, but
When is August, the first Monday in August?
that's the
Fifth.
5th. If you want to do,
I'm just throwing that out there. You guys,
well, what's the flexibility with the Gatesville Town Council? Could they do it at 2 o'clock?
I believe so, Mr. Chairman. I talked to the Honorable Mayor, and we tried to do this for July 15th, and he is going to be out of town. But then we looked at the morning, and the fear was that we may not get everybody's comments taken care of in an hour. We wanted to give ample time to do that. I can certainly try to invite them to the lunch if you'd like to do that as well. I could make that telephone call, too.
And then we could have a meeting following the lunch? Okay? Is that
yeah, that's cool.
all right? So we'll schedule the town council meeting for August the 7th, following the commissioners' meeting and luncheon. All right, the next item is the consideration of a request to hold a session to review emergency management disaster preparedness plans. All right, when is that scheduled?
July 15th.
Right before our meeting.
All right, July 15th at 6 p.m. I believe unless there's any objections, we don't need a motion on that. We'll just schedule that. All right. That completes our agenda. And the last items on our agenda would be our citizens' comments. Do we have any others? Okay. And our commissioner comments. All right. We started with Jack last time. Commissioner Hopper, do you want to start?
Okay, well, thank y'all for coming tonight. Certainly a pleasure to see you. I hope all of you have a nice 4th of July that you celebrate with your family and friends. And I hope you will take a few moments to think about why we celebrate the 4th of July. Remember, 4th of July is when we adopted the Declaration of Independence. And as Jefferson wrote in that declaration, he said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." And this was, these ideals represent a vision at that time of how things ought to be. Certainly they were not at that moment there, but they have inspired not only that generation in the 18th century, but countless generations since, not only in this country, but throughout the world. And I think we need to pause on the 4th of July and really think about that. How many people have made sacrifices so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have had? That flag that we have and we did the Pledge of Allegiance to, a lot of people shed blood for that flag and made the supreme sacrifice so that we could sit here tonight. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Johnny?
I'd like to thank everybody that came. It's dwindled down to a small handful out there. But I still thank you for coming. And you can tell it means certain things to certain people. And we're glad to continue to see you coming. Thank you.
John?
Likewise, I appreciate you coming, being here, and want to echo what Commissioner Hopler said about the 4th of July and what it means to be an American, and how proud we should be, and what this country has overcome, and focused on how it was founded, and to be centered on that. And as a military veteran, it even more so that it becomes an emotional thing to really think about this country and how it is to defend her and against all things. My mother's side had been here quite before the Revolutionary War. My great-great-grandfather came here in 1874, and so he was an immigrant. And of course, in the news today, there's a lot about immigration. This country has a lot of immigrants and that have contributed so much to this country. However, he did come here legally, so it's important to know the freedoms that we have, and that each person that is born in this country has the ability to share. And I take those very seriously, and I hope you do too, how fortunate you are to be in this country. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you that this week there is plenty of opportunity on UNC Education Channel, National Geographic, and things like that you could watch to learn a little bit, relearn some things that we have forgotten that we were taught in school pertaining to this great country and our independence. Personally, my kids gave me for Father's Day a video set of John Adams, and we watched 2 episodes last night. Stayed up too late watching it, but it is amazing the comments that the Founding Fathers made when they were writing the Declaration of Independence. The things that they argued about in this series of videos are some of the same things that our politicians are talking about today. And some of the issues that they talked about, they were really insightful men, because those things have come to pass. But I want to encourage, it's out there, especially this week, and I want to encourage you folks to set your children down and get them to look at it. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jack. I too want to thank everyone for coming and being here, and hope you have a great 4th of July celebration. We do live in a great country. This country was founded on principles that continue to inspire us today. And when we think about all of what has happened in the past to make us what we are today is something to give thanks for. There's a lot of things happening in our nation that I think we need to be mindful of and prayerful over. We lost 19 firefighters in one catastrophic fire event in the West Coast. And, you know, that's a tremendous loss. But, you know, it's the matter that those families are without those loved ones. And these are the kind of things that happens and that others are doing things to try to help someone else. So we just need to be thankful, and I guess I can't stress that enough. But I also want to mention that we as a board will continue to try to do things to improve the quality of life here in Gates County. And we appreciate your support and ask that you continue to let us know about things that we need to know about so that we can continue to improve the quality of life of all the citizens in the county. Thank you for coming. All right. Our last item would be our closed session. We do need to go into closed session for a few minutes. And the North Carolina General Statute would be 143, 318.11A4, I believe it is. Yes, 11A4 and 6. So entertain a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
All right, motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Thank you. All right, so call for a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, we're out of closed session. First item we have is we need a motion to move forward with phase 2 as directed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we move forward on phase 2. Motion?
Have a motion, second.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the second item, we need a motion to authorize the county manager to send certified correspondence as directed in closed session.
So move.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. And the third item is to authorize the county manager on an extension of obtaining housing as directed in closed session.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we extend that to 6 months for Mr. Mendenhall.
Second the motion.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, the last item will be to motion to authorize the county manager to move forward with reorganization on the items identified as 2, 3, and 4 in closed session with the stipulation of memorandum of understanding.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. All right. That concludes the items in closed session. We need a motion to adjourn or to recess until July 15th at our night meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?